Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Aiden Sullivan formerly of Forest Hills Eastern, and now of, you can call, of course, he will be continuing his cross country and track career at the University of Michigan. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Casey? Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's going well. It's a new version of course, Threads just launched. So at time of recording, so I'm trying to play with that. So it's exciting. So anyway, how excited? What has this year been like for you? Just with the success that you've had on not just on the course, on the track, and on the basketball court as well.
Well, it's been busy, obviously in the fall. Well, before the fall and the summer coming into my senior year, it was big, heavy training and mileage, and then also trying to figure out how to fill my shoes with putting basketball here and there. We've had camps all the time and open gyms, and then going into cross country in the fall, it was we dropped mileage. We were high in mileage in the summer, and then I really took a big break in basketball and cross because it was going to be my last year for high school, obviously, for cross, and it went great. Finished third at states, and then uh, going into basketball, had to pick up the shoes again, and then I was still training in basketball, and that was really tough because junior year, well, sophomore year, when I was in varsity, I didn't play much, but I could run a lot in the mornings before school, and then I wouldn't really have to worry because I wouldn't be playing much. But then junior and senior year was a lot bigger, especially senior year. I didn't. There was most games where I never came out just because I was in such good shape. So having to deal with basketball and running as well, it was really tough, especially at the end of the season where I wasn't really shooting as well as I wanted to. So then I kind of dropped off on running a little bit, and it kind of had a little setbacks going into track, but I ended up finishing basketball I wanted to, and then track obviously won states again, which is what I wanted to do, and hopefully, well, I wanted to win our 4 base states as well, which took second.
Okay, so for people that don't know, what did you win states in track?
So I won the 800 meter junior and senior year back to back. So
That's
half mile.
it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so 2 laps around the track. I asked somebody about this few months ago, but is there any strategy to the 800? Like, is there like a time to? Is it a sprint? Is it what is it? Like,
Oh yeah,
how do you
for
play
sure.
it out?
Yeah. So the 800, it's a middle distance race. So it's not so much the distance side. It's not so much the sprint side. It's kind of in the middle. And I've raced a ton of 800s this year, and you race them completely differently. Sometimes when you're racing against the clock, you can race them completely differently than when you're racing against um, other people, like at states, just to win. Um, the 800, it's you gotta throw out that mental barrier because at the start, like your first 400 meters, the first lap, halfway through, like you should be going through 400 and you should be like pretty dead. And I mean, that's how you run fast times. But typically, when you come to championship racing, like regionals, states, or even conference finals, you don't really care about the time. You're just sitting behind the leader, which is what I do and what a lot of people do. And I'm like very blessed to be a distance runner that has a great kick I can rely on my kick. Not many distance people have the kick I have. So I'll just sit on them, sit right behind them on their outside shoulder, which is where I love to be, which is where I was junior year states, senior year states, and even sophomore year in the 4 bay. And then you just obviously 200 to 150 to go, you just gun it. So it's a completely different race, and there's a lot of different ways you can approach the 800.
Yeah. Going into this year, winning 2 state championships is, it's like, oh, I want to win at least one, and then you've won two. It is like when you won the first one, did you like, okay, like the second one, now I gotta go, do it again? What was that like? What, because the thing is, it's like the mindset of, okay, I've won it once, and then now I gotta go win it again.
No, that was very mentally taxing for sure, especially that winter because dealing with basketball, I was still racing indoors. And like I'd have races where I would have basketball practice in the morning and then have to have our leg lift in the morning for basketball on Saturdays and then book it out to Grand Valley to go race an 800. And it was very like I felt as if all the eyes were on me because I was like, well, one, I'm off basketball practice. I'm not in the peak shape. And like I felt in the winter, I was like, I'm not really. I just felt so much pressure on my shoulders for winning states. I think everyone was had like a chip on their shoulder trying to come get me. And then going into states, I mean, going into track, it was tough. I lost many hours of sleep over it, especially the weeks coming into the state meet. But even like hours before the state meet, I was like, I couldn't even think. So I felt like I had to do this. I had to win it again, and luckily it happened.
Yeah. I mean, now that you've won it, now you can, that was that like kind of like your drop the mic moment on your high school track career. And to accomplish that, I'm pretty sure that no one could ever dreamed of doing that, but you did. And now you have that. And it's like one of the best ways to cap off your career.
Yeah, that was for sure a nice way to end off the season, especially because I mean I would have liked to cap it off with a couple state championships senior year with some of my 4x8 relay guys. Um, but no, it was for sure a great way to end it off, especially winning back-to-back 800s.
Yeah. Okay, so why, I mean, you could have done a lot of things, in college, of course. Did you ever think that you would be, heading to Michigan to run track and cross country?
No, I actually had no idea. Well, first off, I both my parents are state alumni, so I
Yeah,
grew up I grew up a diehard state fan, and like the thought of ever going to Michigan, like back in elementary school, I was crying over the Michigan State games when Michigan State would lose. I hated Michigan, and then even like since fifth grade, I always wanted to play basketball in college, and I'd work my butt off every day to try to become the best basketball player I could until freshman year. I was like, whoa, I'm really good at running. I should give this a shot. And I ended up dropping lacrosse for it to run track in the spring. And then
yeah,
I think probably around junior year is when I was like, because my junior year summer, going to be a senior is when I took all my visits. And I was like, well, this is opportunity. And I can't really pass up doing something in the Big Ten. I feel like that's the biggest attraction there.
yeah. Okay, so how's mom and dad feeling about like what was it like? Okay, so what was it like when you first told them that you wanted to go to Michigan? Obviously, did they have to bite their tongues while they when you told them that?
Well, a couple weeks before I committed, when I took my visits, both
Yeah,
my parents came on both visits, and like
yeah,
I've I've been to East Lansing like numerous times for everything, and when for my like it was like a 3-day visit in Ann Arbor, and I'd never been there. My parents have really never been there, and my mom, she's kind of like my dad's a big state fan. My mom went to state too, but she's kind of like she just wants me to be happy as well. So
yeah,
like we went to. I mean, she's big on education, and obviously
absolutely.
Michigan's a great education school.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
she actually before the visit, well, I took my Michigan visit before my state visit. And the last night on the Michigan visit, my mom was like, I kind of want you to go here. I think this would be a good fit for you, which was crazy for me to hear.
Yeah,
And then before I wanted to go to Michigan, I thought I was going to go to state. For like 2 weeks, I was like, all right, I think I'm going to go to state. This is where I want to be. But then I was just thinking about it, losing sleep over it. And then one morning, I just woke up and I just like went through all the boxes and checked off everything. And I was like, I think Michigan's a spot. And I told my parents, and luckily, I'm very fortunate to have both parents that just want to see me happy. They can just put the
absolutely.
rivalry aside, and they were like, perfect, let's do it. And then the week later, both my parents were in Michigan colors. Actually, for my signing day, my dad wore a Michigan State shirt to my signing, but he took it off. He took it off eventually and had a Michigan shirt underneath. But it was super funny to see him wear that on the stage.
Yeah, that had to be. You know what? It's so funny because it happens. It happens the other way around. You've grown up Michigan people all your life, and you've gone to Michigan State, and then you know, because usually it's to have that happen, it's like the school you grew up rooting for, and now
Yeah.
you're going to that rival school. It's like, I mean, a new fresh set of opportunities. but you can't pass anything down in the Big Ten Conference. And obviously Michigan's one of the best schools, and one has a historic cross country and track program, regardless. So what are you expecting in college cross country and track?
Um, I'm not really expecting much. I'm kind of full of optimism. I've never like running has never really been my main focus until a couple months ago. And I think me setting aside like dropping basketball and having winters to fully train and summers to fully focus in on those little things like the lifts, the recovery, the sleep. I really think I can, maybe not in cross country as much because I feel like I'm more of a track guy. I don't know about transitioning up to the 8K and 10K because in high school we do the 5K. So that'll be a little bit of a different transition, but I'm expecting to. I hope I can do some big things there, and eventually my later years, hopefully, win some Big Ten championships and be up there to score some points for Michigan in the Big Ten and NCAAs.
Was it tough saying goodbye to basketball?
It for sure was. I mean, me and my dad had a talk about it, and we have a hot tub, and we always have our talks in there. And um, we were always talk. Probably a couple weeks into track, I was like, I think I'm okay letting go of basketball. It was definitely hard, and I think what was the easiest part was I feel like I finished the basketball season the best way possible. Even though we were close to winning a district championship, but I think that senior year I really gave it everything I had, and running was really overpowering my like the love in me. So basketball was slowly dropping. I feel like I finished off on a high note where I was like, I'm okay to hang up the shoes and just focus on running now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and then just, you've had a pretty good high school career, and this running thing I know just kind of took off, but what are you going to remember about your time at FHE?
Um, Definitely the community. I think that's what brought me into running first. I mean, after the first couple of weeks of training to start cross country, the upperclassmen brought me under their wing, and that's what made me fall into love of the sport. And that's where I am right now. And that's when I was an upperclassman, I was trying to do the same thing, the underclassmen, to bring them up and wrap them into this community that we had. And I mean, we had such a great, tight, knit group of guys, especially when we hit my senior year. We had probably 10 guys that I took for granted, not having to text them being like, hey, make sure you guys are getting sleep tonight, make sure you guys are staying hydrated. Like, we just created this nice knit group of guys that will just care for each other. And that's what I'm probably gonna miss most about Eastern. But I feel like I'll fall into that Michigan community pretty well too, though.
All right. Aiden, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck in Michigan. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Casey.